Is that you?
Yep,
Got it.
I did it. You're all set.
Right.
We're in all set. There's a big goofy thing on the screen.
Sit down then. I wasn't laughing.
What are you laughing about?
The owl like.
All right, next.
I can't hear you guys anymore. Oh, okay. I can't hear you. I don't know what you guys did to that owl, but I can't hear you at all. Oh, you guys are muted. Somebody hit mute. I'm gonna unmute you.
Okay.
There you go. I
Oh.
see it
Oh, okay. There you
The
go.
red light went off.
when it got moved.
Speak again now.
Perfect. Yes. Can you hear me now?
Am I loud enough?
Yeah,
Pretty good.
give her one more.
And I can hear you now. Okay, perfect. Continue.
All right.
Then you hear Rodney.
Perfect.
Yeah, yes,
I'm
now I,
not talking, so you can't
Yeah.
hear him.
let's go.
Anyway,
Well,
I want to get this sand moving, and so
Yes.
I'm trying to get some trucks together for that.
Yep.
So I can get that out of the way. I really like to have you guys okay having Matt put in some culverts for me.
Where are the culverts going?
Well, there's a couple of them on a couple of speedways, like there's one up by your barn that's failed, that fell in during mud season.
Where's that?
It's somewhere down around Ann's there.
Oh, down below on that flat. Yes, yeah.
And then there's one on Whitney Hill, right there by, it used to be Haberman's.
Yep.
And then I got at least, I may not be able to get them all done, but that mud season that hit last spring on the county road in Bicknell Hill,
Mhm.
it really got down into some of them black culverts and smashed them. And so I got at least, I got 11 picked out up there, but I got a couple that I don't really need to do anything with. If I run out of material, run out of culverts to do stuff with. But nevertheless, those are not great culverts, a couple that I could go by.
So you have access to new culvert then?
Yes, we have a load of them there in the garage already.
Oh,
But I would like to get Matt to put these things, we of course work with him and do the hauling and that, but we probably can do 3 to 4 culverts a day and get this thing wrapped up pretty fast.
so you're talking like maybe 3 days worth of work?
Yeah, I'd like to say 4, but I'm picking up 3 if I can.
Right.
And so that's roughly $4,000 worth of having him come and dig. I'm not rightly sure what's wrong with our backhoe, so I think we're probably gonna wind up having Nortrack come down and see what happened, because yesterday the extender hole was sticking, going out and coming back, it was sticking for some reason. And this afternoon, the twisted wrist just quit working.
Is that all electric over hydraulic?
It's all electrical stuff, but what I'm really hoping didn't happen is something in all that good stuff didn't let go and drop some metal into that valve, and that's why it's
Hope not.
having an issue, because we can't even move the valve right this minute. It's froze right there.
get a hammer, and whack it.
Well. So, that's gonna need to be worked on. That should be under warranty, but I think,
That's good.
but nevertheless, I was just talking with Becky and she says I have it. If you okay it. But only reason why I need to know is it's gonna take a month, 6 weeks to even nail him down to go do it.
Yeah.
For Matt, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think you better schedule it. I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it.
Do we make a motion or just it's fine?
Oh, make a motion. Somebody,
To make a motion, we hire Matt Loftus to put in culverts for 3 or 4 days. How vague is that?
that's pretty good.
There we go. No more than 4 days.
Yeah.
Well, that's up to him.
Well, I don't see why we can't be out of there. in
He's
4
pretty
days,
fast,
but,
yeah.
'cause He really does. Because if they're close by, it's faster than it is if you're here and then.
Right,
over
yeah.
there.
You've got the materials. Will the culverts be identical or will you upgrade them? If you're
Oh,
gonna,
they're gonna be all,
I mean, size wise, right? Are they?
the ones, yeah, I think it's safe to say every one of them will be at least 3 inches bigger than they ever were before.
That's good.
'Cause even the ones on Beckno are only 15s. and
Yeah.
They will go to 18, and the ones out on the county road are 12-inch, and they will go to 18s.
That's not a bad idea.
Well, the county road, I mean, we're having trouble there because of last year, the culverts took it hard. But the truth of the matter is, there's a lot of water that comes through that area, and over the years, we've done a lot of repair that, because culverts weren't big enough in the first place. And so it only makes sense to get them up to where they belong.
Right. There's a lot of watershed off the top of the hill.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get some pretty soon.
I hope so, at least on my hill. I'll get an over in the east.
Well, you're getting a new culvert, why don't you get some rain?
I hope so, I just took some time. Can
You
do
don't
it
get
tomorrow.
no new culvert over on my side,
It doesn't rain over there.
that's true.
All right, I second it.
Yep, all in favor of hiring that for 3 to 4 days, say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
And the ton truck is down there still having the paint job done. I don't know if they planned on working on it at all this week, because I called down there so I have some kind of report to give you, and the shop foreman is on vacation.
nobody else knows a thing.
Seems to be a lot of that going around.
Gary's probably getting pretty good right now.
Painting, yeah, bring it up, as long as you want it white.
Hopefully the paint part of it's over with, but the undercoat we wanted is probably what's holding
Oh.
up, because they sent it out to get all the other stuff done, and they will be doing the
Undercoat.
undercoat.
Hmm.
And I'm sure that's at their mercy.
So what else you got going on?
I put up all your road signs today.
Nice. How long they gonna be there?
I have no idea, but the ones that were missing are up.
Yeah.
There's still a couple of small ones kicking around on the backside of Tunbridge, but these people are leaving them alone, so I haven't tried to
Right.
update them any.
Where's the backside?
You know? You gotta figure out where the head is first, right? And then you go from there.
I expect if I turn like this, you the front side.
That it is. John Pease called me concerning the camper that we talked about a couple times ago. And so I went up today and we took a tape measure, and it's only about 3 feet off the road on a curve, so it could easily be hit by a truck. Well, you know where it is anyway. But
It's
just,
on that class 4 road.
yeah,
Little John,
Cliff,
Cliff told me he was gonna go move that.
still there this afternoon.
I told him, why make this a real, contest?
Yeah,
And I said, why don't we just move it over? And he said, It's no problem. I'll try to get it done in the next couple of days.
Okay, so anyway, there's above, right above the next culvert, which is right in front of the camper, there's a nice wide spot where it could easily go. And so
And be out of the right of way?
Why does
or
it
just-
have to be in the road?
it doesn't have to be, even there, because it belongs to Paul McAdams.
Oh,
But he brings it down to the fair every year, and like, for some reason, it goes up there for the rest
well,
of
why
it.
don't they just park it
Don't know why they couldn't.
somewhere off the right of way?
But I will say this, I think it should be moved, but there's, my 10-wheeler drove right by it, slicker than the west of it, well driller go by it too.
Oh, I think they can, but the first thing you put a scratch on it because somebody didn't turn.
Oh,
before.
I agree with you, it should be moved, and I thought we had dealt with it because, when I stopped in, I talking with him, he, agreed that we should move it.
Yep.
And,
I thought it did get moved, then it was moved back to
Then
its
it was
original
moved
place.
back.
Apparently,
and so, I'm. Cause we had to do some brush hogging up there and,
Yep.
we fixed the road, what I thought was fairly
the
decent.
road looks nice. They did a good job.
Best class 4 road in town.
Does it look as good as your road?
Not quite.
Yeah.
I
When we get
left,
that new culvert, it looked better.
I on purposely left spots alone so people would realize it was only patch job, not a full blown, was fix it.
Well, that was next on the agenda. So where's that check in?
So you want me to call Cliff and just
Yeah,
boost him along?
I would think that would be a.
That was the screen papers for it right on?
What's this for? What's this for?
I didn't have sticky notes, so that is your, that's your notepad.
I thought you wanted to vote.
I did too.
All right, it's on my to-do list. What else you got, Mr. Road Foreman?
Eventually, we're gonna have to decide what we're gonna use for next winter's, next spring's stuff up there. And I think I would lean towards a mixture of 2 1/4 and 1 1/4
From where?
from Chelsea.
Did you ever use that of Tucker's that the free load we got anywhere?
I used it today. I used it on those culverts that we fixed up there. And which worked, as far as I'm concerned, really good underground.
Mhm.
Packed all right, but I think it'd be super for mud season, but it's no way the tires survive. Because if we were putting that into real mud and it weren't gonna be frozen before it got in there, then I'd say that's some really good stuff, but I've been putting it in mud a long time, and when it freezes, that's gonna be right up there poking the heck out of things.
Mhm.
And so I'd be definitely scared of putting that in there to see how good it can pop tires,
You talking about Tucker's or Gilman's?
Gilman's. I knew what he was talking about. so I-
Yeah, see, well, those folks at home didn't know. what we
I'm
were
sorry,
talking
I
about.
apologize. But you want like, I don't remember, we got 4,000 yards last year,
We did.
and so that's what you're looking to get before
Well,
winter time.
because we were getting it out of Tucker's, I needed extra. Because of the fact that we wouldn't be able to go over the hill and get it during mud season, so. Technically, if I could get in 2,000, 2,500, I would feel comfortable.
Okay,
Cause then I could truck from there if I needed it. In the, as mud season went on, if I needed it, I'd just go there and get it, but,
Mhm.
cause they would be open.
Right.
But they're not open when mud season really cracks open around there.
Right.
And so, eventually I need to move that.
Mhm.
But I also wanna get started early enough, cause I personally think we can move that from Chelsea with our own rigs.
just work it in now and again.
you know.
Yep.
So I'd like to probably get that okayed so we know it's all taken care of.
2,500. I hear a motion being made.
I make a move, and they get a mixture of 2.5 and 1.5.
Yeah.
Stone
I
from the
just need,
colors.
I just need fines. In the 2 inch, I need the fines a little more, so I need to mix some smaller stuff with it, just to kind of cut it.
I second that.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Right,
Aye.
Aye.
Yes, there are places where that big stuff is like down from the round barn as you head down toward the schoolhouse there, that wicked rough down through there, 'cause it's all boulders. All the
Yeah.
fines are gone.
They have down the lunch. That's about all I got for you tonight.
All right, you can go home.
Well, I was told that you're gonna talk a little bit about some
Oh,
money.
Money?
Harbor.
If we review the ARPA list, he's familiar with his stuff he's put in.
well, that, you're gonna have to sit here and listen then.
Oh, I hope not. I'll just spill my guts and go home.
Sit,
No, won't be long.
just sit.
Planning Commission. Seeking approval, Laura Ginsburg. Hello, Laura.
Hello. Do I need to come over there?
You can. You don't have to.
Okay, should I?
We could
No.
just approve you and you could go home.
Okay.
So
good,
seeking approval.
Great. Who knows what I'm asking for?
That's true, that's true.
Yeah, so I think I wanted to just give kind of an overview of what we've been up to recently. And then there is a grant that we're hoping to apply for, but because the planning commission doesn't have the authority to apply for funds, we need you to tell us that we can do it before we get started. So I thought I'd cover both of those things pretty expeditiously. So a couple months ago, I tried to resign as chair and the planning commission wouldn't let me, basically. So Amy has joined as co-chair. So we're co-leading the planning commission now, which has been great. All of the things that I just couldn't get done, like the postings, the minutes, that would fall off my radar, Amy's helping do, and we're co-leading the meetings, and it's been, I think it's a really good structure to have for this commission, just because there's so much going on. Now, maybe in years past, I mean, for the past 2 years, it's been fine, but I've been chair for 3 years, and I was either gonna leave or get some help, so I got some help, which was great. For Trails Committee, we kind of more formalized that with your approval that they're now a committee of the planning commission. So Jonathan Jonathan and Amy and I have been talking more frequently. George White joined Trails. They had 2 open seats. We had interest from another new community member. They were supposed to join a meeting before they were voted on, and they haven't yet. So we have 1 open seat. That committee doesn't need that seat to be filled, but Jonathan would like it to be filled, so we'll put out a call again for members of Trails. And they've been doing a lot with the garage lot and Drew lot, which is great. Lots of great conversations there. Planning Commission's been meeting monthly, which is our regular schedule, but over the past 18 months, we were meeting every other week roughly, so we're back to a monthly meeting. And we've had a number of guest speakers join us. And then we've been building in a lot of discussion time to go over different things. So we've heard about hazard, flood mitigation, flood resiliency, community improvement projects, and a number of other things that are just really helpful for us to wrap our brains around what's going on out there in the big wide world outside of Tunbridge that could impact us. And as I think you all know, the planning commission and the trails committee are not having any discussion about legal trails, and will not until we get your blessing or the lawsuit is resolved, just based on all of the conflict of just the conflict that we want to avoid. So that's been sort of a topic that we're not touching, and that's okay, because we have a lot of other things we can talk about. And I know you're talking about the ARPA list later on in this meeting, and I'm likely not going to stay through that conversation, but I might save some of it. I think what's important to note on that is that the bulk of them are a lot of emergency management projects, which are needed, and I think a fine use of funds. But those projects don't currently reflect planning commission areas of interest and priorities. So we just want to make sure you know that there's other priorities that other town organizations are talking about and prioritizing that you all will have to think about and hear about. I won't be at the September meeting, which I think you said for talking about ARPA with the community. I have my BE shift as a building manager at the Vermont building that weekend, so I will be having fun at the Big E. But if it would be helpful for the planning commission to put together a list of kind of the priorities that we've heard over the past 6 months, we'd be happy to submit those for your consideration. We just know that you've got a lot coming at you and didn't want to just add another list to your pile of potential projects. So then what I'm hoping to get permission on for tonight is a grant that we learned about from Stephanie Smith, who is the state's emergency management coordinator. She has a different title, but that's what she does. And it's called the BRIC grant, the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities Grant, and it's FEMA funds. So she came and talked to us. She thought this grant would be the best one for the town of Tunbridge to apply for, based on all of the different ARPA based, or they're ARPA funded at the federal level, but they're not ARPA to community level grants. So they're part of the big package of projects that the federal government is releasing to municipalities. And this one in particular would allow us to do project scoping, which a lot of grant funds don't do. And she would help us write it. And again, she recommended it based on the funding that they had last year. They anticipate a December application deadline. The notice of funds available has not yet come out. So it could be something like an October release for a December application. And the grant, you can use up to 5% of the funds for grant management. So it could pay for a grant manager at the town level. And then there is a 25% match requirement. The match can be either cash or in kind. So it could be, Rodney's time based on the project or anybody else in the town that's working on it. The cash part could come from the town's allocation of ARPA dollars. So this is a kind of an unusual situation where you can match federal funds with federal funds. So what we were thinking that the best project would be based on a combination of flood and river issues that we've heard of from a number of different groups, and also emergency access to the town, is a scoping project to understand what needs to happen to solidify and strengthen the roadways kind of between the ball fields, so recreation fields down to behind the cattle barns, so the straight where the pedestrian bridge goes from Sherlock's. That part of the river, there's clearly some issues happening with it undercutting the bank or making the banks loose. And if we had a major flood event and both the Stratford Road and 110 were impacted, we would be in a bad circumstance for that side of town. So the scoping project would allow us to work with experts and professionals that could understand what would need to happen for that section of river to be, what kinds of things would have to be put in place to mediate the risk of that flooding, either taking out the road or severely undercutting the bank and making some of the buildings unusable. So that's our sort of wish list project. Stephanie did say we could apply for a scoping grant that was less focused. It could be sort of a general, help us decide what the projects are in town. And that may also be a good approach. She's going to help us figure out what projects we should apply for. But that one has come up repeatedly as being an area of sort of increasing concern, given with what's going on in front of the store, by the old firehouse and library area, and then the sort of slumping that Rodney's mentioned, at that area of Recreation Road, Shepherd Road. So that's the request. We would lead the application and you all would be engaged in it, of course, and have to sign off on it because the submission would have to come from you.
What kind of numbers are we talking for that?
It can be pretty high, and I can send you the actually, I think I have it pulled up on my phone. So the state has $1 million set aside for Vermont, up to $500,000 available for planning activities. And then if we are bumped out of the state round, then we can enter the national round, which there's an additional $50 million available. It's gonna be competitive, but because of the $1 million set aside for Vermont and sort of the level of potential impact with the state highway and then town roads being impacted, she felt like it was a pretty strong project to put in. If we put in a general scoping project, we probably would be less competitive.
So the flow goes from ARPA to FEMA,
Mhm.
and then the state has access to. What was it for
The state
Vermont
gets
state?
a set aside of $1 million.
Okay,
So it's almost like a block grant to the state,
right,
but then the national FEMA, I'm guessing, because it's this national pot of funds retains additional monies that anybody from across the US can apply to.
but not the same requirements as ARPA that we're applying for.
Right, so I manage federal funds that are in this sort of same circumstance where. Because it's flowing through a federal agency, it's considered like federal agency funds, even though the federal agency received them through the ARPA appropriations from Congress. So it's the pass-through requirements of these funds would be different than the ARPA funds as ARPA.
Yeah.
Who would write the grants?
We would, with Stephanie's help.
The reason why I was asking, because once again, I wondered how much Two Rivers had involved with that kind of stuff. And Rita told me just last week that they're no longer being funded by the state to do these grants, but for 10%, they will write grants.
Mhm.
And up to, I think she said, I guess I would just leave that blank, because I know it's up to a cutoff and then it's free. It only takes so much money and then the rest of it would be just on them to finish it off.
Well, we can't, the brick grant is sort of the first one. We need to know what we're doing, so the brick grant is what we're really asking for. I don't know where it's gonna sit as timeline by the time we get that done to go for this big ARPA state pot. I'm the one that, it keeps coming in through me, all these notices as the emergency director. So, you know, and if I go to the meetings, they're kind of pounding it on us to look out for flood stuff. In particular, that announced 100-year floods. We're tracking it every 15 years. And Irene wasn't that far away from that mark. So they're just asking us to look around, and the brick grant, I think, helps us try to target some areas that we could lose in a big one.
Mhm.
And it also sets us up, if we go for the ARPA funds, if we have the brick grant completed, especially with the head of the services helping us on that, it puts us in a much more logical position to apply for the ARPA. Yeah.
Yeah, it really clarifies what our ask is, because right now we can say we have these points of weakness, but we don't know exactly what to do or whose responsibility it is, or when it may be impacted. And so the BRIC grant provides us with that ability to get a professional opinion about things that then we can use as a basis for other applications.
It would also be another line item almost from our ARPA money that we would have to budget. There's that 25% match.
Right.
Yeah, I think we haven't had a follow-up conversation with Stephanie to ask her what type of budget we would be requesting, if it's $50, $100,000, so that of course would impact the amount of coverage. But I imagine that Rodney, because it is basically a road project, would be asked to provide some expert input, so his time would count. Potentially Rudy's time as well, because he's the,
What road?
Stratford.
I don't know why everybody's so worried about that Stratford. It's not going anywhere. I mean, you ask any state worker who comes down there and looks at it with me. And it's all due to those two culverts that let go, and one we shut off, which stopped it from tipping over. I was hoping this year that we were gonna get that grant and we were gonna grind that all up.
Mhm.
Take that old culvert out of there that is there. Reset the road, because Pike was even gonna do all the grading and everything else to reset the road, and then I don't think you would see a slope after that.
So it's not a bad place for them to help you with that either. If the
Well,
engineer's
I guess it
coming
wouldn't be
out.
a bad place, but the place is actually gonna let go, is right up on Spring Road. And,
Oh, yeah, on that corner.
well, it ain't even on that corner. It's
Gordon's
right there
driveway.
by Gordy Barnaby. That's the place it's gonna let go, and that's gonna be mega bucks to fix.
By you telling people an algorithm is a process for calculations or problem solving.
Pretty McCullough, I think is.
so I think we could expect, if it comes to that, in Stratford Road sort of recreation. Fields to the pedestrian bridge isn't the right area of focus, but it's Spring Road. And the curve of the river there, it's, nothing is set in stone at this point.
Right.
So we can sort of expand it to be that area of town and the waterways and the impacts to roadways
I
there.
mean, I couldn't be in deep doo-doo because I said that. Because it was fall apart tomorrow, but every time I've tried to fix it, the state and the federal people from FEMA all have denied wanting to work on it because it's nothing going on there.
Because the trees aren't leaning.
Right.
Right.
And that's, and so I haven't been able to get any help there because of the fact that they don't feel that there's a big deal going on there.
Well, it's like Laura said, nothing's set in stone yet anyway, so.
Right.
What about Recreation Road out to the garage?
I would, one way or another, I'd like to see the town appropriate some money to put a blacktop road out through there. Not, last year, I told the boys, put all the mud in one pile. As you lug it out of there with a wheelbarrow. And that filled the whole 10-wheeler.
Yeah.
And every morning you can write the name on the desk, because of the dust over
Yep.
there. I just feel that there is a real issue with the dust inside that building. You can't keep much of anything for storage because it just gets covered over with dust.
Mhm.
And I just want to sell the fact to you that, one way or another, whether it comes out of their own pocket or whether it comes out of Arbor or what it does, we really should look into the fact that that is at least one road that should be, so them big tires traction through mud that deep or even deeper. I mean, most anybody that goes to the dump over there can testify the mud's bad. And I do know that when, park a truck in there, big ball of mud, yay deep, comes off the mud flaps. And like I had Jimmy actually cleaning the garage today while we were doing those culverts. And when I got back there, he says, this stuff is hard to sweep off the floor. Well, I've known that right along, but it has seemed like it's gotten worse over the last 5-6 years. I think we've all experienced it. All roads are getting worse over the last 5-6 years. And I'm working towards the idea of at least experiment with the fact that some of this is chloride, and we're trying to cut back to see if we can get a handle on all this mud in these roads.
Anyway, back to you. Any more, or is that your total pitch?
That's my pitch. I can say more if you want me to, but I don't need to.
But you need a motion from us to let the planning commission pursue.
I don't know if we need a motion because we're not gonna submit it without your knowledge. I think maybe just an awareness and maybe you do need a motion. I don't know what your decision making entails, but unless you feel so inclined that we shouldn't apply for it.
Well, I think you should,
Yeah,
I do.
and I don't know that you, I think now that we're aware of it, you don't need a motion, is my opinion.
either way, I mean, yeah, I would get as far as you can, just keep checking back in with
And
us.
say she's still gotta come back to us before.
Right, I mean, we gotta sign off on it in the end.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you need to know what the in kind is, what our share is.
Right.
So we'll figure that out.
Yeah, so we'll work with Stephanie. That'll be the focus of our next planning commission meeting to figure out who's gonna lead. We'll talk to Stephanie, we'll talk to Rita, kind of get our ducks in a row and get prepared for when that funding opportunity is announced.
All right,
Great.
Sounds good. And yeah, if you can submit a list for the September meeting of some of your ideas would be good.
Okay, we'll do that.
Priorities.
absolutely.
Well, cheers to a big piece of pizza from the Big E. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we've already done a Sawyer Hill check-in, at least I think we have.
There's a letter.
Uh,
from the-
Oh,
Yeah, there's that letter that you guys got.
legal letter,
We gotta read it now.
I read it.
What a guy.
Thanks. Thank you.
Bye, Laura.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
There were a few things in the letter that weren't quite as accurate as they could have been.
What? And then the next letter on Dean Saul's excavation, do we have a policy in town about
No,
people who want to improve class 4?
No, but we should.
and Brenda found
Yes. from last-
Yes.
sample permit from VLCT
Oh,
that we could, was a sample, but we could work on that to cover ourselves.
for
Well, if
class 4 road
someone,
improvements.
if
Yep.
Dean says, well, I wanna fix the road, then we give him a permit and say, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And he has to fill it out,
That would be
get it
good.
back to us.
So
we
just
have
the
to approve
scope
it.
of work.
And then we say, oh, geez, we don't want you to do that, but we can do this and go from there.
Have you seen people improving class 4 roads sort of just freestyle?
well,
Couple times.
Goodwin Hill, I don't see where he did a major bunch of work, but he sure got himself into trouble a couple of times with the neighbors.
You're talking about Tom Will?
Yeah,
Okay, let's just put names out there. What about Mary White Road a few years ago? Was that the end of that considered class 4?
I don't even know what they're talking about there, I'll be honest with you.
Okay,
It's part of it's class 4, yeah.
yeah, remember the end of it, there was a logging operation, and then there was a lot of improvements made right before the cutoff that goes up under the high tension
Yeah.
wires.
No, I don't,
And I don't think you guys were aware of that. And
Right.
I don't know if it counted as a major improvement, It certainly looked like one.
Yeah.
I was under the impression that where it cuts and goes under the power line is private, nothing to do with.
No, but the improvement was kind of made to the left. It went straight to, I think, the home site back. then.
yeah, could be.
Yeah, and once again, I believe Our road cuts off this way and that cuts off this way, and they only did their personal road, not town road.
Yeah, oh, I would agree that to the right, there was.
You know, I think we need some sort of permit if anyone wants to. I mean, it doesn't prevent anyone from doing it anyway, but I
Right,
mean, doing the work without a permit.
no, I think that'd be a good idea. I mean, right, the two things that come up are that people just sort of on their own improving them.
Yeah.
Town right of ways, and then. Also this whole, people in the right of way,
Right,
I mean, just. We're never gonna totally solve that, but at least. Have people come to the select board
right.
and request, you know. Redress of whatever grievance they have.
Well, I think commonly, anybody that wants a class 4 road improved wants the town to do it.
Right.
Once in a
Usually.
while, people do it on their own.
But doesn't that, on statute in front of me, but for someone to just on their own without asking any kind of permission to improve. A class 4, I thought that was a no-no. But maybe I'm wrong.
Well,
I
I
don't
think it
know.
should be, I mean.
If you own both sides of the class 4 road. And town only has right of way, but you actually own the land.
Mhm.
You're trying to tell me that I can't improve my road? Your road?
Probably.
I think it's written up, if I remember right from the League of Cities and Towns, it accepted the ownership. That the landowner, the abutter to the, has special rights to be
Yeah.
able to keep that within their purview of use.
Mhm.
But anybody else going in, whether it's clearing trees or should be
Sorry.
running through.
What you said is sort of how I feel.
And I believe they mentioned that in the,
But this letter from Dean seems kind of silly now because the road's in good shape. I mean,
Right.
he's talking about the first 1,200 feet up through the field.
And he can run all his stuff on left.
Right.
12-foot roads.
Right.
Dean's pretty clever.
Anyway, I guess.
Yeah, I'm pretty clever.
Dean's all.
Yeah.
But if they went ahead and improved, got Dean up there and started honing away on the road from Clifton Ingridge up through 1,200 feet, I guess I'd have a problem with that now because there's nothing wrong with the road.
I think the road is perfectly
It's fine.
passable.
Yeah. So anyway, hopefully he was
No
premature
reason.
writing this letter.
There's no reason anybody should have an issue now.
Right.
Well, not to be sick in the bud, but I think that if somebody did, because there isn't any kind of clear policy, improve a class 4 that whether it needed or not, with possibly the intention of a monetary gain based on development, because it might be turned into a class 3 because it's really close to getting there now after these improvements. That could cause the town a problem.
Good, but as far as I'm concerned, if someone improved the road and they expected it to be a class 3, for me, being on the board, they'd be sorely disappointed.
Okay.
it's been turned down repeatedly at town votes.
Right.
Well, the only way to become a class 3 road is to have board approval, right?
As far as I know, yeah.
I mean, you could have a class 4 road, a paved one, right, but it would still be
Class 4 road.
Right. Mr. Tech Guy, can you remove that?
You didn't want me
I didn't say you couldn't.
sticking my face in the computer
You
anymore.
commented about your looks.
So I guess my question is, at the end of that letter from Andrew McElwain, it says that they would appreciate written confirmation about the proposed road improvements outlined above. So what would you like me to write back to him?
Well, I didn't tell him we fixed it.
That it's fixed and that you don't authorize
Right.
Yeah.
the 12,
They
the,
come
okay,
back. I mean, look at the road, it's new and improved, and
Right.
if they want to do
Okay.
further improvements.
Yeah.
That they could come back with a new.
Right.
proposal.
okay.
All right, now that we've,
And then what about, we don't have anything on rights of way as far as people leaving vehicles, campers, etc.
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
Why would it be different than any other road?
Right. Shouldn't be.
I don't think it is, but what's our policy on any of this stuff?
Well, when
If somebody complains, we ask, try to find the owner and
we
have them.
try
move
to
it.
get them to move stuff until they won't move it, and you plow snow in it and smash the windows out of it, and
So we intend,
then they finally move it.
we hope,
They did,
and they did,
that particular,
Yeah. nice,
because I helped move it.
oh,
Don't know.
oh. Yeah, I guess we don't have a policy, but generally we take, I mean, if Rodney comes and says there's somebody's rig needs to be towed, we try to take care of that.
I don't know what's actually written, but I know we had an issue right up here on Gilly and,
Right.
apparently had something going on, 'cause the Orange County went and talked to them.
Well, I'll call Cliff about the camper anyway, and hopefully he'll just move it.
I mean, he told me he would,
Yeah.
but that was 2 weeks ago. He said, I thought he probably would.
On this, I didn't want to be
She's just.
feedback. Hey, Mariah.
Hi, Michael.
So she can hear us.
Well, come on over.
So
to
it
this
looks like there may
meeting.
be some issues here still, Mariah.
Yeah, they're just restarting their computer. It bumped them off, but they're restarting and we'll get back on.
Good, thank you.
Yep.
This may be okay in about 2 minutes.
Well, this is recording it on the owl too.
It says it's recording, yeah.
Or are we still recording?
Yes, I'm still recording.
Muted it. Sorry, go ahead.
Keep her on, yeah.
Well, I don't want to create feedback though.
Oh,
We'll holler when this comes on, how about?
100%. There we go.
100% of all.
Oh, what?
of the first of 17.
No, it said stage 1 or 2.
Oh, I guess it was gloomy. Now we gotta restart it.
Alright, yep, you gotta put all the passwords in.
Okay, jump right in.
It's got the.
Can you hear what's going on here, Mariah?
I can, yes.
We've got our best guys on it.
Mike McFutris, the IT guy.
Password. For town clerk.
Password is clerk email with a capital C.
You get that?
What'd she say?
Clerk email with a capital C. No spaces, I suppose, right?
No spaces.
Clerk, what?
Clerk email with no spaces, uppercase C for the start.
This password is incorrect. Try it again.
All right. It's CLERK email.
Yes,
All right.
capital C. I will type it into the chat to you. Here we go.
Yep. CL uppercase C.
Oh, I got it.
Okay.
I got it.
You get it?
All right.
Yeah. 99% complete
It's that last 1% that gets
for
you.
some reason.
Mariah, do we have to restart the owl too, or will it just come back?
No,
up?
so well, it should just reload once it starts back up, but we are still getting recorded and I can see you off of Michael's computer, so just so you all know. So if that's gonna take like a really long time, it still is
Still
working
recording, right?
on my end.
So-
It's recording and I can see and hear everybody. So if you wanted to maybe just put your computer on the table or closer on the desk, we could keep going and not fidget with the computer over
Will I
there.
be able to use screen share?
Yeah, I'll authorize you to screen share. Yeah.
Do you want to bring it over
Mm,
to the table?
Is that?
It wouldn't be going out though.
She said she
Okay.
could use it.
Yeah,
She
as long
can
as
hear
she,
us
as
all.
long as she can record it, doesn't matter. The audio.
Oh, okay.
Well, I tried it once and I just moved it over.
So you want to try Tunbridge?
Tom, full guest.
Selectboard.
I think that's what it is. And then the password, did you see the password? Yeah. It's up there.
Clerk email?
TUN, uppercase TUN, and then uppercase G for guest. No spaces.
Tongue.
Hmm?
Tongue.
Isn't that good news?
Yes, really good. You didn't get my email yet, but yes, so I was saying,
The only thing, there's some conditions.
I'm ready to hear them now.
It's apparently he's because
Of the
the
text.
wood, yes, causing blowouts on his tractor.
His quote was less than 3,000, but we decided to go for 3,000.
For timber
Because he
frame?
didn't- Yeah, because he didn't have anything for groundwork, and I was like.
Well, we do
"We'll
have to have
some."
groundwork.
So, there you go.
Good,
3,000.
yeah, some pavers or something, it's just so,
Exactly. And an edge,
yeah.
yeah, little
So he
teeny.
doesn't have to mow it, basically. So it's just, and so he won't have to go there, and if somebody drops a push pin,
It'll be right there,
They'll step
and
on
we'll
it.
see it, and they'll step on it.
and the other thing, and I might have mentioned this to you when we met that day.
It was the bike thing.
No.
Okay.
Um,
Recording in progress.
Okay, now Michael.
Going.
Working now.
yeah, I muted my audio.
No, you
Still
didn't.
coming through
Yes, I
for some
did.
reason, Michael.
You gotta leave.
I have to
believe.
Ooh, that was fun.
Landing.
Now we're all updated.
Okay, we're back in business.
Ooh, I gotta take a nap.
Yeah, you did it. Good job.
I'd like let you work on my tractor. That was good.
Yeah. The new tractors.
I don't have one.
With computer.
And your chainsaw. You've got-
I got something to like throw in.
I don't know even know what we're talking about. man.
This is from the behalf of myself and the road crew, we thank you folks for coming up with the raises. Especially Mike, he's fighting for it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Well, anytime you wanna start blacktop in my road.
Or his driveway.
Start by the fire station if you would.
Are you a class 4 road? Your driveway is
So what were we talking about? I totally
We're
lost that.
still on Sawyer Hill, weren't we?
rights away.
Oh,
Yeah. We better move on.
Yeah.
well, let's work on that. Let's.
Let's revisit those two things.
Right,
But Mariah's gotta send a letter.
right.
Where's Mariah?
She's up on the
I'm
phone.
right here.
Just send them a letter and said that, say that we've improved it as much as we think it needs being improved, and if they want to do something else, come and see us.
Okay, I will. And I'll also work on that class 4 road improvement permit that Brenda had showed us and have that for probably, I probably will have it for next week.
Yeah, if you kind of fudge it in where it concerns us and
Right,
not everybody in the world.
Yeah, I can do that for you.
You leave the hot tub thing in though. Okay,
Okay, absolutely.
class 4 hot tub.
If Gary can
Yeah.
confirm that the trailer's been moved, camper.
Yeah.
Then we could add that to the letter too.
Yeah.
Just sort of.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's talk about ARPA.
Right. I think I'm gonna start again, because I don't know, some of the new people know the history of where we started in town. It seems like there's some confusion. I think it's almost 3 years ago, and I started getting notices through the state of Vermont for emergency management to the emergency director of the town, that there was gonna be a fund called ARPA coming. And we were gonna have it directly in. There was wait and see, don't know. Then they started saying it is directly related to COVID or pandemic stuff, and you can start thinking about what you want to do to harden your town. We had a meeting of, I think were all of you there, down in the fairground,
Yeah.
Jen Hazlett, the fire chief.
Yeah.
Rod.
Yeah.
Road crew.
Yeah, Larry was there too.
Yeah, we tried to get quite a few people down there and wrote down ideas of what people thought should be looked at that would be related to hardening or improving our town for a flood. We hoped everything was dual purpose for everything we did. We knew that being volunteers, it's gonna take us forever to get estimates, so we started on it, and I've been the one cracking the whip. And I continued on with it. And we had a tentative list that's been stored here in the public building since the beginning. And anybody could look at it. It just wasn't moving fast because we didn't have the parameters yet. After a while, the state said, don't do anything. Two Rivers said, don't do anything. They're changing the boundaries on it, making it easier to use. Don't do anything. So believe it or not, after all that time, years, we finally were told we had more latitude as of, I think, the end of May. We've just been busy. We had town meeting coming up. We truly have done little except that initial list that was written down on the fairgrounds and start to get estimates. I will say it started to grow. One of them grew, which I'll get to in a minute. And it was a natural evolution. I think you guys jumped in on. So the first one, Rod, you talked about. Yeah, you put in afterwards. That wasn't on the initial list. It doesn't matter. The other one was we listed that almost 3 years ago were radios in the town trucks. That the radios in the town trucks, I don't want to bore everybody because the radio stuff really bores me. But
You
they're,
say it bores you?
oh God, yeah.
I don't think I can possibly bore you when, the real issue is that me and my crew can somewhat talk to each other, but if there's a real emergency out there, we have no way of talking to anybody else.
If we have an emergency at the school, if we have a snow event, if we have a wind shear, if we have a flood, everything we do in the town, because we've adopted unified command as a town, we've signed off that we do unified command, which is the smartest thing I think we've done on the emergency part of it. It just means we're all in the pool helping each other and we can plan that way. So one of them is getting these guys up to snuff so they can talk to us without overriding us. It's always been a challenge in a hilly town to have good communications, and that's probably going to stay that way until it goes up in the satellites. You know, it's just a challenge. The fire department has a very good repeater that many, many years ago, we got a grant and looks like we got top of the line. But we need to get them on an analog and the fire department's on digital. And right now, if you go on the analog, it overrides the digital. So they could be talking about flipping someone's mailbox while the fire department's trying to run a house fire. And we can't have that. We finally worked on it. Simon Bradford had many meetings with a radio guy climbing up into Kay Jorgensen's barn and came up with an estimate. You know, and this has now been sitting for a little while, so I don't know what it's going to do in the future, if it's going to increase or not, but it was about, where did I have it here?
The 22.
22,000, and I'd like to add on, we had a base station, we were borrowing from the fire department to keep here. And they've had requests from Orange County Sheriff's Department during the fair to move it down there, and actually the fair broke it. I mean, the Sheriff's Department broke the base station. And I think that we can't really, if we have an event during the fair, we've got to be able to function up here with our own stuff and not have it skipping around town. So I would add in another $800 for a base station or a two-way radio that would stay here.
The guy that wrote this stuff is now gonna be retiring, so I think we'll have to start over with pricing.
Well, what I don't want to do is I want to give you a base. When you go over a certain amount, I believe the town has to go through, you have to follow your town procedures and you have to get 3 estimates, I believe, when you got that kind of funding going on. So before we jump on that, it's a lot of work. I mean, Simon took 2 full days off of work to get that part. I don't want to ask them to get 3 right now until, you know, you decide whether this is where we want to be going with that. So the radios in the trucks. This is our emergency operating center. So we talked about a backup generator. And one of the things would be for here, so we could all be here. If we had a flood, we started to go off the fire department onto you folks. We have a way to keep functioning here, because it does fall on you, especially under unified command. We're starting to function again and keep track of that. So we started to get into stuff about backup generators for both the town hall and this. And then I know myself, I started to lean as problematic for some of it. So I started to focus on this building. The town hall, if we have a school event at Orange County Parent Child or at the Tunbridge campus, all the kids are being evacuated down here. We're going to close down Route 110, just so you know. And all the kids will come down here or relocate them with their parents here. We don't want parents driving up to the school. Obviously, you can't during something like that, either one of the schools. If we have the base station here, Chelsea's very interested in also utilizing us. They would like to relocate their kids down here. Because they don't, everything they have isn't too close to the school if they have a shooting event. So they would like to utilize this, which I think is something you should know. So we started to look into it, and I approached Lynn Hadley, Todd Tyson, and Henry Swayze to help under the energy auspices of this. And we came up with 2 different proposals. One of them I'll let you talk about if you want on the solar. And the other one is 2 propane estimates. The propane is definitely less expensive. It's about $13,000 for both buildings. This building would be a big storage tank. You know, the good thing about, as far as the environment goes, it's only gonna be used during an emergency. So it isn't like you're running it for fuel, heating fuel all winter long. The town office, the town hall is problematic. It's a big building. So that one, he still could put it in, but there's no land to put a propane tank. So he came up with a couple smaller ones that go next to the big stairs going down. And keep it running for, 24 hours anyways. So we could do one or both. Right now, my head is starting to settle on this building for a lot of reasons, because there's other things that came out of this whole item, but just a real synopsis, a quick synopsis of the solar part, Todd.
Yeah, well, I guess the distinction I would make about the solar, and yes, it is more expensive, is that it's not just for emergencies. It's grid tied. It has a disconnect so that when the power goes out, you've got the batteries topped off, they're ready to carry power. I forget what the length of it was. I think it was between 2 and 3 days of normal operations.
I think it was 3, yeah.
Once the building kind of has we already had the energy audit, and I think you finally did get a report on it.
I got the report, but we don't have the estimate.
Okay. So trimming energy so that in the case of an emergency, that the town offices are only using what it really needs to use, computers and communication, et cetera, like that. So that the benefit to the town outside of an emergency situation, and that was one of my key interests in getting involved as the energy chair here in Tunbridge, was that what could be to quote someone who's not here tonight, a win-win, although he might add another win at the end of that. You got that. That the town would benefit 365 days a year, or potentially benefit if they needed to use the backup power, not in an emergency situation, or decided to, we could go to the batteries for a couple of days when the sun's out and not be drawing off the grid and
Yeah.
reduce the town's power bill.
Do you have any idea what that cost?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I think it's in 28,000.
No, actually, the last one, wasn't it 32, Lynn? It was
Okay.
32,000.
And that's what came from integrity.
That came with a panel that would go out there. We've done a lot of measurements.
Yep.
Mhm.
And battery, lithium ion sealed batteries, I believe, stored in the basement.
How
this
long do
building.
those last?
Those have got a warranty, I saw, was it 12 years?
Between 12 and 15. So that, I don't know, as far as getting into, when you get to a point where obviously I'm making decisions tonight, with you, that triggers getting 3 different estimates. There were other solar installers here that, for instance, the guy that's going to be hopefully getting the solar field on Belknap going. He's not particularly interested in this would be considered a small scale.
Yeah.
We were very careful in the siting that was done by Amos Post of Integrity Energy of trying to keep a low profile now that ash tree is gone. I don't know if it was an ash tree or what was it?
Whatever it was.
It's gone. The fence is a minor issue. The utility pole apparently cannot be moved because it's a stanchion pole for the main line. But overall, the aspect of the panels would be certainly below the windows, and actually be down about where that lower board that, just below the platform. So as far as historic and people driving in, part of the building is not really covered up by solar.
And I did call the historic people about it, and they said that, of course, if we've looked at other ways of doing it, and it's a project that they're very open to approving that, so that's
So
not
this
an
would
issue.
only cover this one building.
That's right.
Yeah.
It would only be.
I started to feel like I was concentrating on this building, especially when the energy audits came up, because the dollar signs kept ticking up.
There's not there's not enough sort of real estate out there, the ideal spot that, as we know, all the town buildings are very limited, and particularly the town hall. There's not enough room to, and there's really no roof option here because of the way the roof is designed, and it would need to have additional reinforcement. In the future, and we can talk future in the future, but the town hall, at least initial reports are that does have probably enough reinforcement, but there's not enough room to have enough panels to create power for both. And then you, in an emergency situation, you would need them tied together, and a couple of solar installers said, well, that's a pretty long one, that would be prohibitively expensive
Right.
to do that.
Is there something like net metering then potentially going on with this, or is it really more for the emergency?
No, that was my point at the beginning, is that you would be group net metered right off the bat. So that the energy produced every day, we've had some pretty sunny days lately, that's going into the grid, that's saving the town.
Do we have any idea of how much we'd save a year? And how long it would take to pay off, say, the 28,000 or 32,000?
I could get that generated, I mean, you know, depending on conditions.
We have to, in reality, we have to also add in the cost of replacement batteries down the road, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest about.
And once again, speaking as the energy coordinator, particularly the renewable energy coordinator for the town, is that propane, no matter how much less expensive, to put more fossil fuel infrastructure when it's not necessary, particularly when I think the numbers as far as payback will cross pretty soon, would not be my recommendation.
So under the ARPA stuff, to go back to that you happen to be at the same time asking for an energy audit on these two buildings. Well, we kind of pushed that through, saying that they're being used for emergency stuff. So we can justify that even more so. We got the energy audit done. He came back with it. What we don't have, if any of you have read that, if you can skip to at least halfway through, and then he starts to get in the meat and potatoes. The air exchange in this building is really good for COVID, by the way. It's
60 minutes or something.
no, it's every 37 minutes, the air in here is completely revamped by the leakage in this building. Same with the town hall is very similar. So we haven't got George, I believe George hasn't come down to take a look at what he proposed, but he was saying lay down a blue board floor downstairs. Put another floor on top of that, build 2x4 walls along the walls. There's no insulation, by the way, going right out through. When we got in here with Efficiency Vermont and then with the energy audit, and he did the blower door test.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. And he said, so you build a wall and a wall and then fill it in with insulation. And he goes into detail in that report of what he thinks should happen that George can take a look at. He said, suck all the insulation that was laid down upstairs. He said it was a nice effort, but it wasn't done totally right. Suck it out. If you keep it clean, you could put it back up once you do it the proper way. He's got the details in there. I have no idea what that is going to cost. I mean, it's a great thing for the taxpayers of town, since we're just blowing oil heat right up through the building every 37 minutes in the winter. And we also had to keep track of the air exchange. We repeatedly said, as he's starting to button it up. And then he mentioned the windows, I think were third or fourth on the list, and he doesn't ignore them. He just thinks this other stuff has to happen first. So I don't know if that's $40,000 or $140,000 and that's not talking about the town hall, which had the same leakage on it.
I just asked a question for you. What's the pot of money that we're talking about anyway?
398,000,
Yeah.
767.31 cents.
Yeah, it'll go fast.
Not to be forgotten.
So, and the list of this list is total.
200.
We don't know yet, because we have not had a chance to sit down and review it until tonight. Believe it or not, this has been just sitting as we collect estimates, because let me move on. We don't
I would like to say that what's on here now is 234,000, and not everything that is on this list that I have anyway, had dollars associated with it yet. There were 4 items that were listed without estimate. So
Yeah.
the way it stands is 234,000, which is, so it's gonna come in somewhere between 2/3 and 3/4 of the 400, close to 400.
Well, when you think of what if this building needs to be revamped to make it so it's not a leaker. But if I could just finish a little bit on this. So I can go down through the list. Another thing that was cited at that thing was that the server for here, if we have to do remote, Rudy has said that our server is by far one of the older ones around. He said that upgrading the server would probably be about $12,000. And this is, he feels a little bad. He says he thinks he missed an opportunity in the past to do it. He just got occupied. And this is a great time to do it. And it gives them the capability of possibly doing more remote stuff easier, plus other stuff. The other one is to finish putting all our records in the cloud. If this building burned down or we lost it, it was pointed out by the town clerk, I think at that meeting, that we need to make sure, there's a lot of stuff in the cloud, make sure everything's in the cloud. We lost a building tonight. What are you missing here? That's a disaster for the town that's not in the cloud.
But even, so just to add to that, putting the land records into the cloud would make it so that people could access them
Right.
online, which would reduce the traffic. People could research their
Right.
parents' deeds from, 200 years ago. It would just
Beneficial.
Yeah, it would make things a lot more efficient, and I think it's gonna be a requirement sometime in the future. I think that's what we're talking about. Those are the whispers I've heard, that they're making it a requirement, somebody needs to.
And plus that'll never get lost. It will never disappear.
Right.
We know.
It'll never get stolen or broken into.
Wow, it's stable.
Yeah. I'm not
I wish we had
sure
more
about-
clouds.
Well, I mean, you would still
Trying
have
to
all
tell
of
me if
that.
the machine breaks down.
Yeah, unless your computer's updated.
Right. I have every confidence.
Would that also require employees to scan enormous amounts? of
Yeah,
stuff?
we came up with an estimate of putting that in the cloud. Rudy came up with, was it Mariah? Mariah, did you come up with
Yep, I came up with it. It should be right there. Actually, it might be right here in front of me as well.
19,000?
Yeah, and that includes somebody from the company that I reached out to coming and scanning the documents for us. That also includes a computer for researchers to be able to use it, and our cost of usage for the year online.
So as you can see, everybody keeps saying it's all emergency stuff. It sort of started out that way, but it, buttoning up this building, yeah, it does help in emergencies, but kind of helps the taxpayers too. And it's just energy efficiency. Actually, there's a lot of stuff here, getting the radios upgraded so the town road crew can talk to each other and respond to the rest of the people in town.
Certainly.
You know about South Royalton Rescue, and I don't know anything about the First Branch dispatch thing. So that's pretty much the tentative list that's been sitting there that we've been collecting on for almost 3 years. Getting estimates.
Well, it's a start.
Yes, it is.
And I think, Brenda, that going back to prefacing it, remember, we already had some actual COVID dollars come, right? Those first two
Yes.
things, we had to do all that accounting for to show where it's spent, and all we knew is it's a trend, it's an evolution, as you say, from that. So I can see why it started in emergency COVID related stuff. We didn't know how long this would go on or what the parameters were of that.
No.
So it sort of made sense that it has its roots in emergency.
It does have its roots and very directly, it had to be related to emergencies and us to harden our town, and then they softened it up. We actually took some of the things off that we were looking at, and the buttoning up these buildings. just grew into that, thinking, well, it makes a lot of sense. And for the solar energy, if we want to put mini splits in here for air conditioning, there's no point, as Henry Swayze said, there's no point whatsoever putting them in this building. We're just blowing energy right up through the walls. It's a waste of time.
I put some in my house this summer.
Yeah,
We put those solar panels on the roof
I love it.
and we couldn't use up all the power that we make.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so we also added some heat pumps to heat the house this winter and cool the house in summer. And that hot weather that was going on here a week ago, I was like having a blanket on in the house.
Yeah.
I think the key report we'd like to hear from you is if we get down to like 5 degrees, how you doing with the heat pump and whether you've got the backup. whether you're
Yeah.
Working hard.
Oh, they do tell you that.
That's not their strong point. They say that.
When it gets down to close to zero, they are getting to be, they're not very efficient.
As long as you have a backup wood stove, they work.
Well, that's exactly what I want, so I figure I'm in good shape.
Michael, you don't say something?
Yeah, I would like to just, bring a different perspective to the ARPA funds and, there, if you could, there's what copy that for Brenda. Too, I think. I'm gonna go ahead and share my, my screen here. Whoops. My, it says it's still, disabled. You'll have in front of you, the Governor Scott's, investment for American, for the rescue fund, plan funds, and you can see actually, whatever it started from, this came right from the governor's website. But he's talking about 5 strategic categories: housing, broadband and wireless connectivity, climate change mitigation measures, water, sewer and wastewater infrastructure, and economic development and recovery. So that's the state priorities for this. And there's a budget on the next page which breaks those down.
Michael, is this the state ARPA or the town ARPA?
This is
There's 2 different ARPA.
This is the distribution to, well, this is what the governor has and is what encouraged. And if you can see on the last page,
I think this is the state ARPA.
well,
There's 2 different pots of money.
Yeah,
well, he divided it and it's,
yeah, he has. This is all under the state.
well, let me explain. I don't know that it's necessarily that way. He talks about it being 1 point, let's see, there was 2.7 billion of aid and 1 billion for the state to expend over the next 4 years. That's the money going to the town. So if you look at this, I'm showing it on the screen here, but you can also see it on the back page. This is from the Vermont League of Citizen Towns Plan Framework for Maximum Impact and Best Use of Municipal ARPA Funds. And they divided into 3 categories there, and you can see, yeah, sure. Leveraging, convening all stakeholders, follow allowable uses, ensuring transparency, do not create future budget deficits, that kind of thing. So I'm going to go to the next slide on mine, and it says, how can my town spend the funding? This is from Vermont League of Citizen Towns. And it says ARPA includes 4 broad criteria outlining eligible uses to respond to public health emergency or its negative economic impacts, including assistance to households, small businesses, and nonprofits with aid in impacted industries such as tourism, travel, and hospitality. Number 2, to respond to workers performing essential work during the COVID-19 public health emergency, providing premium pay to eligible workers. And the 3rd is for the provision of government services to the extent of reduction in revenue due to COVID-19 public health emergency relative to revenues. And actually there's a 4th, to make necessary investments in water, sewer, broadband infrastructure. And then there's an organization called Government Finance Officers Association, and it's 20,000 members of local finance officials, and they have come up with eligible uses of these funds based on national stuff. And, you know, they're talking about COVID-19 issues. And also they're calling for water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. So I just want to make the point and I'm not sure how all of this discussion tonight fits into the September 21st meeting, which I believe I heard was going to be to hear from residents, how they wish this $398,767.31 would be spent. So I think that, I'm not sure why this discussion is sort of going right now in terms of, you know, this possibly, you know, saying that this would be how money would be, after money would be spent, especially if you did 2/3 to 3/4 of the budget. And I realize not all of that is, and I'm all for emergency services. I'm all for that. But my point is that I think that there is generally through grants, through other state and federal options, some grants options and opportunities available to towns and states, basically. So
none of this
I
stuff
think
though,
that-
Michael.
I think that I just want to, you know, maintain transparency that early on, the select board said that we're going to hear from the people about how this money should be spent. And I think that, you know, let's hold to that. I would urge you to do that. So how does this, or ask the select board, how does this discussion relates to both the September 21st meeting where we're going to be hearing from residents and final appropriations for that $398,000?
Well, the way I look at it is, like, there's some of these unknowns that we don't know the price on, that we need to find out the price on, and then Brendan, Todd have been working on prices of other things, and then we're looking at George to price this building to fix it up. And then once we have all the numbers, and then once we have the September meeting, and then we can at some point figure out what we can afford. And so this list is just gathering the numbers and saying, this is what we'd like to do. And just like in my personal budget, there's things I'd like to do, but I can't afford them, and things I prioritize. And so when we come down to it, we'll prioritize from this list and anything the public gives us. Yes, Lynn?
I just have concern around that regarding timing. I've sort of been watching this process go along and we're really creeping right up on September.
Yeah.
October, November, the brick grants, December already, you know. And the sense that you gave permission and encouragement for us to find a grants manager who can help us put all this together and see what all the pieces are, so that everything's there to be looked at. And I have a concern that that process isn't necessarily happening fast enough, and that the town needs a little, however it is, help in order to create this list in the most full, clear, open way with all the parts in place so that everybody can see them, you know, in time for that September meeting. That's a lot to do in a month. The month of fair prep.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't think anything has gone out around the grants manager. Has anything gone out?
We've advertised.
Okay, yes, yay. Has anything come in on it yet?
And Mariah, can you speak to that?
We don't have anything in yet, but we,
I sent you the other day.
Well,
yes, actually, and that's included in your packet. You do have that one thing that Mike McFeetris had given us. That's the last page, I believe.
So I've just been a little concerned when I've heard about how hard Mariah and Becky are working on this and how many different pieces there are, you know, different process money have a different percentage share and require different things. So I am offering for a very short period of time, and you may not want me, but I think we need somebody to help these two hardworking women put all this in a readable way so we can see. because we're gonna have more than 400,000 for sure, that we'd like to spend. Don't you think? I mean, if not, I think that we are,
Where's the additional money?
what I'm saying is. There are many ways we could spend this 400,000. And we can't spend a little, spend a little, spend a little, and then wonder and not know what the price is for this and not know that, but try to do this and that. I think we all need to see it in one big spot. Whether it's a giant whiteboard, you know. What are those things I hate them so much? Spreadsheet. Ah!
Mm.
Anyway, so that's my thought is that, and if this is a process where we really want to hear from the town. People in the town need to be able to easily grasp this information, and hearing it the very first time at the September meeting, that's sort of just the beginning in a sense, you know, unless what you're choosing is just to inform the town. Like, we're deciding, but we want to let you know these are all the pieces that are in play.
That's not what I have in mind. I don't know about John in mind. I mean, I want input from people.
So they need time to like sit with this material and say, building renovation, infrastructure, training and you know, equipment. Oh, okay. That's how,
Well,
that would help me. I know.
let me step in if I could, that, other towns have done, creative things with this process. The town of Jericho, Vermont, actually put a survey online, and that's how they got input from ahead of time from the residents. And then that informed everybody. They could see how many people were voting for this, that, and whatever, and what all the ideas were. I don't know that if it's too late to do something like that prior to a September 21st meeting, but certainly I agree that waiting until September 21st to hear from the public is, that's maybe time wasted, that we could probably be soliciting information or ideas from the public before that meeting.
Also waiting until then to let the public know, you know, what these, because there's a lot of work has been done. So much work has been done about what's already on the list. So informing people, I think, is helpful here too.
But also what the possibilities are, and, you know, some of the other possibilities, talking to folks, you know, recreation trails and signage, river access infrastructure, village infrastructure, including sidewalks, making it more walkable, an EV charging station. This is something actually that the governor is has funds for, we're hoping that people work on EV charging stations in the town. Dedicate funds for purchase of sensitive natural areas for conservation and recreation, solar projects for town buildings, that's in the works. Town hall improvements, that's in the works. Possible cluster septic systems in the village to allow for growth of small businesses. School opportunities, after-school programs, workforce education, maybe scholarships for high schoolers, things that directly benefit families and small businesses. Road improvements here and there, community health programs as proposed by John O'Brien at the town meeting. Things like that should also be on the table, I think, for something like this.
Well, how, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but how would you advertise this
Well,
September 21st meeting?
Yeah, well, I would like to see some, maybe it's on the town page, some way for the residents ahead of time
Right.
to weigh in on some of this stuff.
With the information, you can read about it.
Yeah, maybe we have Jeff set up an ARPA page, but here's what's sort of on the table, here's what other towns have done and how they've done it, and let's see, let's get people involved. So maybe through the listserv from Porch Forum, through the town,
All the ways.
the town website, trying to get the word out that way for
Can you get on that?
soliciting.
Is that something that you're kind of
What are you talking
volunteering to help with that type of outreach ahead of the
Yeah,
September
well.
21st?
My
And I would
Very
volunteer to help with that too.
Yeah.
Sarah, what she's kind of thinking about for that meeting is not that we're making decisions
No.
at that meeting. That meeting is simply for us to say, here's what we've got. So we're similar to what we're doing tonight, but we're creating our list tonight. Here's what the town is thinking. What are just some ideas that you guys are thinking that might be things that you are interested in? It doesn't have to be a, you know, we're not making any decisions at that meeting. It's just sort of like a, let's throw some ideas on a wall. What are people looking for? Like, I don't think that meeting is meant to be like, let's bring every idea that we possibly can have and put them on the table and start making decisions about what we're gonna actually do. Like, it's more of a, here's what that we've got, here's what this process looks like. And Sarah's gonna come sort of mediate and say, okay, everybody should be able to, you know, speak about the things that they're interested in. And then we can start making another list of, you know,
Well,
community interests.
Really, I would think that this list that Brenda has generated would just be part of a larger.
Well, that's what I think she's imagining, is that this is sort of, these are the town, what we as a town have decided that really like, and I'd say as a town, I mean, town employees, these are the things that we think that this money could really help, that we don't have money for right now to spend. This would be a way to save taxpayers from having to pay for these improvements. But these are really good ideas for us as a town to use. And then invite the town in and say, do you guys have other things that you would like to see? And is there a way that we can, is it important to you that this happens this way? I don't think it's that we need to have all of the information out there so that people can bring elaborate ideas. It's just saying, hey, we'd like, to have a better recreation center.
Right.
I
But
think
don't you
that's
also, Becky, think that it would be helpful for people to be able to see what we do know?
Oh, I think I agree with you there, but I think we have to be careful about like projecting this as, we want, elaborate ideas. I think we still just need like ideas to come in to say, hey, as a, like, I would like a place where I could take my children on walks. I think that's what they're looking for. So then they can say, okay, that'll go on the list of potential ideas. I don't necessarily think we need to have. I think if we invite too much, it's going to be a very chaotic meeting of people just like. But
I think they also need to know that it's not a done deal, just because some list has been presented to the select board.
Yeah.
That's how it's going to be.
Yeah, no, it's not a done deal, but I mean, that's what, we as you're kind of looking at are these things.
Well, how about if we take this thing and what you just read and put it on our website, have Jeff do that and just let people look at it and say, these are the parameters of where the money can be spent, and then we have this other list where everybody's put it. And this is what the select board has come up with so far.
That you might want to get the parameters for our town ARPA.
Right,
I think that's the state ARPA.
okay, well,
I'm
anyway,
fairly
just-
sure it is.
that gives people an idea of what we can go with, and then they can come to our meeting knowing what they could request.
Just a short little blurb, like the select board has identified that radios are important, and this looks like about 20,000 a month.
Right.
Just like two little lines,
I gotta,
identify them all.
I just want to say one thing, because I wanted,
I
I want everybody to
I'm
stay,
hoping you do too.
I just want to
I'm
make
going
sure
for
that
gravel.
everybody stays on a friendly thing. Michael, there's been no monies available for generators for over 25 years. This is the first time. This is the first time. Radios are a struggle. All the ARPA money that's coming in through the state for communication right now is going into dispatching, because the Vermont State Police is giving it up. It's not for us to buy base stations or the road crew. But I just don't want that put out there like, emergency people have got more than enough grants in other areas. I think you're gonna see us looking at you a little discouraged, because it's not so. And we grab every grant we think we can see, but they're few and far between that actually fit us, and they lowered the parameters on those for the last quite a few years. We don't get trucks anymore. We've not gotten generators for a long, long time.
Yeah, I understand that, and,
But I just don't want
I
you
do
saying
understand
that
that.
repeatedly, because it's
No,
not so, and I'd like us to
but
stay
this
open.
money is also, looked at and been written about as, you know, kind of a once in a lifetime chance for towns to upgrade and to look at infrastructure or things that they haven't, you know, even been able to consider. So I agree that the things on that list are important, but I think we need to just balance it with some other things that will help families directly, that will address economic recovery and that kind of thing. That there, it's a broader base than that. And when I see your totals coming up to 2/3 or 3/4 of the total funds, it just seems like it's out of balance.
And I think you're gonna see that money is not that much, once we start looking at stuff, it's gonna go fast.
Did you have something to add? Oh, have you?
I just think that you
We had
should-
your hand up.
I just think that when you get all done, somebody needs to sit down and narrow the list down to what
Right.
people can pick from.
Somebody's gonna have to.
And I just feel that there is an opportunity to spend some money in good areas. And good areas, if you want to help all the people in this town, good areas is anywhere where you stay out of my back pocket for taxes.
Yep.
And that's kind of the bottom line of how this money should be spent.
Mariah, I have a question for you. If we were gonna put this on the website, can you organize this in an organized way?
Oh, sure. I like organizing.
I thought you did. I mean, can we task you with doing that?
Sure.
All right, she said,
It's
yeah,
easy.
yeah.
Well, I think
And did you just hear that I made a real
Yeah.
little teeny offer, short term, of just anything to help get it out there and clarify before the 12th, I can jump in.
Do you want help?
for the 21st.
Oh, well,
Only,
Yeah.
only if Mariah.
I think
Yeah.
right now, she's talking about working with Mariah
Oh, okay.
with the town. I've been sort of the one with the whip trying to get these over the years, but a lot of these projects maybe have a little tentacle to me, but they've grown outwards from there.
All right.
I think we could.
Yeah.
I mean, Lynn and Mariah, if it's framed as, here's let's call it like the municipal list, municipal Tunbridge list,
Yeah.
which is what Brenda's presented here, like everybody pretty much connected with municipal Tunbridge has weighed in. We think these are important things. Michael, what you just said, those other things, like these are good things that the rest of Tunbridge should be, try to weigh in on, like what's important of that was a list of, we could easily spend $1 million just on that list there. So, and somehow combine those two and then say, this is what we'll be talking about at the meeting.
And maybe let people know.
Okay.
that the decision-making process will still rest with the select board, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a.
Because they've got to make it work with the budget through the road crew. There's some complications, as you guys have heard from Sarah.
Yep.
How to make this work.
So I think with 5 weeks to go before the 21st meeting, it'd be good to gather as much information ahead of time, and if possible, to have it vetted, I guess, by Sarah. Said, hey, great idea, but that idea, we don't even need to talk about on 21st.
That's good.
Because the funds are not available
Right.
for that, so that we're not spending time on the 21st. So follow-up question, you may not know the answer. I know that the funds are all supposed to be expended, I believe, by the end of 2024. The total amount.
26. of them.
26.
No, you have to make your decision. by the end of
Up to
2024 and then expended by.
Okay, what are you gonna do? So does the select board have some general timeline of when they think that after having an information session, or maybe more than this, of when they're gonna start to say, you know what, here are the priorities of where we are with our budget? Because people will ask that question on the 21st. Just, and you might not have an answer now, but just to be prepared. And then the other thing is that, to Brenda, but just in general, is to get a sense of, how are other towns considering their total budget and what percentage might be going to emergency services? I think it's always good to query other towns, as I've done about the legal trails issue, just as a comparison, not that we want to do another town, But are other towns possibly allocating as much as 2/3 or 3/4 of their select boards?
So this
looking at
isn't
that?
all emergency services, so
What?
this
Right.
is not all
No, but-
emergency
but-
services by a long shot.
Yeah, not by a long shot, but just to have that as a comparison, 400,000 is a big number. We have a lot of time to talk about it. We'll have a lot of other ideas, and I think this will all work out in the end. Brandon, you come to all the meetings. So as far as the select board hearing from you, number one citizen that they hear about, particularly, and that's good. You're very engaged. There are a lot of people that finally wake up like, whoa, wait, there's a meeting, there's money, and I could have some input. Going to be a little bit of a surprise to them. So don't feel like you're being bullied or anything, but there's, this is open, and I like the comments about transparency, that full knowledge, and if people are asleep at the switch, like they are sometimes on election day, you had your chance, you didn't weigh in, final decision down the road is being made on the select board based on a lot of input and a lot of different things.
Yeah, I mean, you can always go to the town for paying for some of this stuff.
Right.
If it doesn't get approved on the ARPA,
Right,
they just go to the
exactly.
town.
Yeah, because like making this building more energy efficient is just a smart thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the town's gonna take a bond out.
Right.
If they wanna do something else.
Right.
Well, I mean, curiously, some of these proposals fall exactly under Governor Scott's 5 things, like connectivity, whether it's
Mhm.
the road crew or a server, certainly are under wireless
Right.
connectivity. As far as climate change mitigation, either solar and battery here would do that, and tighten this building. Both lead towards that. So I mean, it's, if you look at those big buckets, right? Some
But
of
there's a
those
lot of
fall right under-
crossover
Yeah,
too.
some of that is coming out of, if you look at the state ARPA funding, the governor has stated that stuff, that's a different thing that I have not even addressed, that doesn't come to me.
Right,
You as a select board ought to be looking at what the governor's doing. I don't know how our town gets on board that state ARPA. I think part of it was going into flood resiliency, which is where you heard the brick grant coming early, that huge amount of that's going into towns being resilient
Mhm.
and the housing, of course, but that housing and stuff like that is not necessarily under the town ARPA at all. And it doesn't mean you can't use it that way. It's just that it didn't get hatched under there. So be careful how you put that one out. It could be a little misleading. The priorities. That's not anything, me defending anything. That's just,
Right.
Be careful which funds you're
Right.
quoting.
All right, anybody else?
Well.
I think, Lynn, you have a part-time job
Yeah.
as assistant to the assistant.
Is assisting.
or
Yeah.
This is very good.
the interim branch manager.
Yeah, yeah,
Very, very short term, but also a little piece for Michael and I to go ahead and put out in any different forms of communication. This is happening.
So-
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Be there.
Yeah.
It's gonna be exciting.
We'd like to see more than 10 people there.
Yeah, I can come up with about 20 more things, have nothing to do with
Right.
Right,
Well,
I'll start
if
making-
it's handled well, then it can generate good feelings with people.
Right.
about, yeah, we like this. Look how much we all want this good thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the pavilion was in there. I forgot that.
all right, I think you want to go home.
You got it.
Crawl into your air-conditioned house.
That's right. Yeah, it's
Thank you.
fine.
for
Just
hanging
to let
out.
you know, you are not my number one.
Thank you for coming.
I'm glad
Thank you, guys.
Most of it's been here because I've been trying to move this.
Is she top 10?
Yeah, she's in your pocket.
Am I?
Yeah, that's good.
See, he doesn't even listen to me talk.
That,
He told me what the hell
that-
happened earlier.
that's because you bring snacks once in a while,
Once
so
in a
you didn't
while.
make it.
I'm not
down.
consistent. I don't have water right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my neighbors, I got some people from Seattle and they ran both houses dry.
Yikes.
They have
Yes.
a lot of water in Seattle, so they don't.
Brings back Santa mode for me.
All right, Allen Hall after-school program. Does Mariah want to do it now or not? She told me she didn't.
She didn't.
So
want
I
it?
talked to her today and she said that she doesn't need it for this year. She just
Oh.
wanted to talk about the opportunity of being able to use it maybe sometime. I told her that last time we had discussed, we had said whose insurance was it gonna be under? The
Yeah.
towns or the library. So she's gonna look into that and I'm gonna look into our insurance and then we will postpone this discussion until a future date.
I have a question.
Yes, Becky.
Is the library and the town insurance different?
Not sure. That's a great question.
I'm fairly certain that the library is covered under our passive.
But I wonder on one planet or tops, does the supervisory union carry insurance with that? Because that's a school program.
Well, I'm sure if it's a school program, that's carried under their insurance.
You would think so. I mean, they're double insurances essentially there.
Right.
Anything that happens at the library,
Yeah, I mean, if it's
have insurance.
considered an after program. Well,
so we should ask Mariah about that.
but I think it's more that, well, the school insurance. Which
Yeah.
probably.
The
has
SU
more-
insurance, right?
Yeah, has a more kid. Friendly plan, like if the kid gets
We
hurt.
hope.
Right.
don't
More
know.
coverage probably.
But Mariah also said that since she's the librarian and the idea for the after school program was to get kids to read and then be in the library, that she was gonna try to keep it at the library
Mm,
and not in the town hall.
right. If it's sort of count as a field trip type thing,
Right.
right, or off.
I just think if she had
Off-campus.
50 kids, it'd be kind of cramped in the library.
I think the bigger thing is that she attracts a lot of children.
Right.
A lot of kids like the things that she's offering. so-
Yeah.
All right, well, another year. We'll work on it.
Let's talk about the town nurse. A town nurse.
And would you guys be wanting to just sign the tax rate so I can skip
Oh,
out of here?
we can amend that.
I got,
We're
I
skipping
got
him.
kids recovering from surgery, and,
Oh,
like panicking and.
Mom's gotta give them.
Yeah,
For sure.
present us with a tax rate.
tax rate is looking amazing this year. We're about 18 cents lower than we were last year,
Why?
because the school is 18 cents lower than last year.
It's all based on the school.
But is the town up, down? And
The town is
City?
about the same.
Yeah.
Hold on, I can tell you exact.
What, our value?
Last year, the town municipal rate was 0.7713, and this year it is 0.7721. So
Very close.
it's very, very close.
Splitting hairs.
Yeah, but the school rate is much lower.
Because Chelsea's
Um,
taking on more because of FBUD, is it? some
so yeah,
calculation
so it's
there?
their budget dramatically decreased when they, I think because they're consolidating teachers,
Yeah. Principals,
got rid of having two principals, they're down to one principal with an assistant principal. So they saved a lot of money because those are really the only ways to save money is in people
salaries,
costs.
yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
And they,
And they did this year,
did this year.
so it's down 18 cents.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping it stays.
That'd be nice.
Who knows, because all of this budgeting was done pre-inflation.
Right,
Exactly.
so what do you think? Make a motion?
Yeah. What do we, do we just accept it? What's the motion? What kind of-
I would
I
maybe just,
make a motion that we approve the resident rate at $2.1794. And the non-resident rate, $2.2541.
I second that.
I'll accept that motion in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sign away.
then I can get the bills out maybe next week.
It's raining, look at that. Probably not
Yeah.
on Monarch Hill. but-
No, it's dry bone up there. Big hole in the clouds. See the moon. Better be
It
raining.
won't, it won't rain on your, it won't rain on your hay, Gary. There's a little special cloud. Did
Hay.
your cows run out of pasture?
Yes,
Yeah. Are you feeding hay?
yes.
They painted the grass white, so I think it was snowing.
Yes. No, they're eating about 2/3 of what they normally eat in the wintertime right now.
Wow. Good thing
And
hay is
then
free, right?
Bill
Yeah.
and
All right,
then I'll sneak out of here. Thank you, guys.
thank you.
That's good news. For the next TQ.
That's right. Now you wanna do the nurse?
Yeah, let's do the nurse.
What's happened to
Jody.
our health officer?
I talked to her a month ago, maybe, or something, and she said she was still interested in being a town nurse.
Okay,
But I also told her that we probably ought to advertise it.
And we haven't so far.
I know Betsy Race said at the town meeting, there was some woman sitting behind her and she
Right.
said she would be interested in it.
Yeah.
I don't remember the woman's name
I
now.
don't either.
I think that
Um,
was, who was down on calling,
Any, Mary Beth,
But we still ought to advertise it.
she's a nurse, right?
but I definitely think we're in a career position, it should be advertised.
I do
Yeah.
too.
Can you
we
do that, Mariah?
Mariah?
Definitely I just.
Yeah, I will,
I
I
guess we-
will reach out to that Upper Valley nursing, whatever the people were
Right.
who have
Yeah.
all of the
Yeah.
information and say, can you give me a job description?
Yep,
That would be great.
perfect. Good thinking.
They would know.
See you later.
But I did talk to Jody yesterday and she had applied for a grant for the town. And she received a $5,000 grant that can be used for computers and things like that for this town nurse position. So we do have that already
Yeah,
right.
available.
Good.
Connectivity. All right,
All right,
so
so
we'll
this?
probably be doing some interviews in September then.
I suspect. Transfer station grant
Don't get me too
discussion.
booked up. I gotta go to the fair.
Pulling season.
Yeah. So what do we get on?
So we,
What's Mitch and his?
so we gotta, yeah, Mitch is in here for his cost estimates. We got a $5,000 grant, right, for maternity leave or something. I don't know when it was exactly, but so we've been sitting on it for a little bit, but we were approved for a $5,000 grant. I wanted to have Janet make some vinyl signs about, for specific areas,
Right.
what we accept for recycling, what our prices are, all of that stuff that we came up with. But then I wanted to ask you what you guys want to do. Do we want to get another roll-off container with some of that money? Do we want to just get like a small dumpster? We had always talked about something and we never finished and followed through with it. So what do you want to see?
Things
I
that
can't imagine the signs are going to be more than $500. So that's $4,500. Or, maybe we throw in a little more to get something we really want, but
what happened to the sideboards on the trailer?
They've yet to be built.
But is that a viable alternative?
I think it is. It's worth a try.
Well, we
Either
can
that or
use-
just a mini dumpster. That like. The kind you see behind businesses. I mean, what do you have?
6 yard,
Yeah.
4 yard, 6 yard.
I mean, something that if it's mostly empty most of the time, except for these emergencies,
Yeah.
it won't kill our budget.
Right. That's what I worry about is all of a sudden it's another $500 or whatever a
Right.
year, but it's another
Right.
500. But they're nice because they have the covers, so it doesn't fill
Exactly.
up.
So it's not
snow.
like throwing it into the shed there.
Right. So is that one of those listed here? I didn't
No.
see it.
No,
no. So I'll ask, so it's a 6-yard
Oh, they're
one,
like-
that's the size.
I think mine's like $120, $130 now a month.
Yeah.
It is the
And
garbage.
that's one pickup a month.
Right.
But if, I don't know. If you did that, I don't know if some months you wouldn't have any pickup and you'd be
Right.
wasting your money.
Right.
But if you had to have 2 pickups, then you'd have to pay extra for the second one,
Right.
And
and they will do that.
But that price includes your, whatever you put in there. So you don't have an additional price
No,
for the garbage or whatever you put in
Right.
there.
right,
So that covers everything.
right.
Assuming it's full every
Right.
month.
How big is that? Like this
I
table
think
or
it's a
something?
4 yard, yeah, and,
I bet they're pretty close to this size. I mean, this
Yeah.
size.
it's probably, yeah, a couple feet wider and maybe a couple feet longer, but
Quite a
it's,
bit.
chest high.
Right.
And, I think they call it 4 yard, I think.
I mean, the good thing is, say it was a recycling one.
Yeah.
We could then put it back in the regular recycling one as long as it was relatively clean, and so it was empty again.
Yeah.
Instead of having them just take, like, I don't know if they take away recycling in one of those.
I don't know,
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's a good question. Because
but
if
we
they
could go
don't,
back and forth if, I mean, you'd want to say the trash is totally full this week.
Yeah.
The next week it's recycling is totally full. Somehow to have it, so you could just do one of those, not, you don't run into that problem of, oh, it's all full of trash and we got
Yeah,
recycling
but
full.
if you fill it with recycling this week, then you could call them and say,
That's
can you
true.
come down and dump it?
Yeah.
And then next week you could use it for
Right,
trash.
you just have to be on the ball with it.
Right,
Yeah.
right, Mike would have to really
Right,
step up to the plate on that one.
Yeah.
well, should we investigate that, seeing
Let's-
what a smaller one would be?
yeah. She's on it.
Okay,
He's on it, and ask Casella, Mitch, whoever's Mitch's replacement, right, if they would take away
Right,
recycling in a smaller one. Recycling only. Like right now, if that must be a different route, I assume,
I
right?
I
assume,
would assume so.
go a different direction, go to Colchester or wherever the
Right,
recycling
exactly.
facility is.
Yeah,
versus-
And I don't, how do they pick that up? Do they,
I don't know.
you might call them in, right,
because I have
or somebody.
one of them front
Mariah.
dump things comes and gets mine, but do they have a separate front dump that goes all over?
Yeah, I don't
picking up
know.
recycling? I don't know.
I mean, what do businesses have for
Right,
recycling? What do they do?
Right,
There must be something like that.
right. Like, like the law school or VTC, someplace
Right.
that would have not as much as maybe in municipality, but a lot.
Right.
Just,
All right, good question.
all right. But these are, kind of expensive.
Yeah, I think that's ridiculous. You
And
know,
and it's overkill.
if
We
we
don't
didn't
need
use
that.
it for a month,
Yeah,
$1,000 gone down the tube.
yeah, exactly. All right,
School water paperwork, signature needed.
water.
so there's like 3 things in front of you, Gary. One's a liquor license, one's for the school, and there's a scoping grant for the sidewalks that we've got. That means those all need signatures.
Sidewalk.
This is the
Jeff,
school.
Gary, or all of us, Mariah?
You guys can all sign the liquor license, the scoping grant, and the school water paperwork, just need Gary's.
You want to make a motion or just do it?
I think just if they're just signatures, just do it, right?
All right, I have to print my name here too. It's a little more involved.
What's the school water paperwork, Mariah?
Oh, what did Patricia say? It's just
have the
acknowledging
email.
about the
Public water
testing, I
system
think, that we
contact.
do, yeah.
Okay, she does
Oh, yeah,
testing.
just a contact thing.
Is the liquor form for the Tunbridge store?
Tunbridge Fair.
Tunbridge
It's not,
Fair.
that's already come in and,
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's for, the beer
is-
hall and the beer
A
town.
couple weeks ago.
All right, that one,
Definitely gotta sign the liquor license.
yes.
We'll have plenty of beer at the fair.
better.
I think it's the last page, the second to last page on that packet.
The big beer days.
There should be 3 spots.
Approved. What's the big beer this time?
Nano Fest, this weekend.
Is that at the fair?
That's good.
Too bad I didn't go to Cornish Fair.
Me too,
Really?
on Saturday.
Oh,
What for?
watch Oxbow.
Oh,
Oh, boy.
they have, maple creamy boots right inside the ox on.
Yes, pretty good.
And they put them sprinkles on.
Yeah. To die for.
Reason enough to go.
Really
We've only
nice.
got 2 more Thursday nights, Gary.
Yeah, come on the 25th.
25th.
Yeah.
Last one.
Not much of them.
Oh, pretty good. Anybody you know running?
Not that I know. Well,
So-
not you.
Mariah, yeah.
Yes.
No electric bike.
If you got there on it. right?
So for that.
Uh-oh,
Uh-oh,
you just dropped off.
we lost Mariah. I hate that.
I left. For the scoping grant, I was talking to Rita about it, and she said that for, I think it's like $4,500, Two Rivers can kind of take over that whole scoping for the sidewalks and do all of that. And I think the email's attached in that too on the back page. And I think she said that with that grant, the grant will cover Two Rivers kind of taking over and doing this project for us. So I don't know if that's something you want to happen.
What if people in town don't want a sidewalk?
I don't know. I don't know how it works.
I was talking with Rodney.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
He's absolutely against the sidewalk. He doesn't see any need for it. And I mean, everybody owns their own land up through town and then,
And their liability issues
yeah,
then.
I mean, what if half the people say I don't want a sidewalk? Then what am I gonna do then?
Well,
It's
I think
just
that the
right away.
purpose of the whole thing is to have somebody come out and tell us if they're even feasible.
Oh, okay.
And if it's in like, you know, I guess my vision for a sidewalk would be right kind of on the shoulders, widen out the road a little bit like you'd see in South Royalton. Like there's not grass in between and then it's on somebody's yard, you know, it's right on the road. So they would come through and let us know if it's feasible and cost and
So it's a feasibility study then.
No, it's a scope.
Scope it, we're gonna come and
Yeah.
scope it out. All right, so I signed it.
And will it cover potential trailage up to the rec field?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, because that's interesting.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
But would you like me to talk to Rita and have Two Rivers take that over and work with all of it, or do you want?
I'd love
Because,
to.
okay, because I guess what her and I were talking about is that they know all of the engineers, they know what everything entails, instead of me trying to find an engineer that could come do the study, they'll just take it and run with it.
Let her handle it.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Even like if they know of a similar town to Tunbridge that has a sidewalk that they sort of envision, would be interesting, because it's funny now when you walk down, there's like 3 sections of sidewalks, maybe
Right.
here and there, and then there's nothing.
But we don't have a lot of sidewalk traffic either, though.
No,
I
exactly.
mean, I don't know,
Not yet.
in 20 years, we
Maybe
really
not.
will. All right.
I'll be grabbing my stuff.
I'm looking for stuff.
West Tunbridge sidewalk.
Okay, so we got all that done. X, other business. What was that? There was something about,
And I have
Wow.
other businesses.
oh, okay. Well, my paper didn't have this guy's name on it.
Well, mine does, because I wrote it on there.
Oh,
Who's that?
Jeff Masterson?
Yeah, he used to be road foreman in Braintree.
Oh. And you said he's done all this
Well,
stuff
he's
here.
done all that stuff.
Well, maybe I better read that.
Maybe better
What's he want to do?
be the grants manager.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So this is his resume.
Yeah, I
Alright.
just told him to type up something
Yeah.
quick. He didn't get too involved, but he just put on what he's done.
What's this here?
yeah.
And they're leaving.
Mariah, I can't remember, before I went on vacation, I sent something about, well, do you remember the other thing? It was like Lie Heap and Tunbridge.
Yeah, I just saw it today when I was making your stuff and I was like, oh, I should have put that on there. It was about the Tunbridge Church donating half of their quarter's income to the fuel assistance loan fund. And
Okay,
then you wanted to talk about the fuel assistance fund again. Would we consider looking at this committee and if there's anything we could do to draw attention to the loan assistance or the fuel assistance?
number 7 citizen is back.
What's that?
You didn't leave your cookies or your water here.
No water.
She doesn't have water.
Gonna bring
No,
one.
she didn't leave.
She's
it
out
here.
underneath the eaves.
I need a vacuum pump tomorrow.
Mm.
Okay. Yes, I can have everything put away.
No.
The
Stop it
irony,
again.
she has no water, but she's soaking.
Do you need
There's-
these papers? Look like maybe some stuff.
Are those yours? All right, well, maybe next time, or, well, next week, right? We could talk about that.
Oh yeah, I'll add it to next week.
Okay.
Have we had any responses about the grants manager?
Just this one. I just barely posted it yesterday, so I haven't seen anything yet. And I only posted it on Indeed so far, because that's where I had gotten most of my hits for my town assistant town clerk. So that's where I started first, and then I'm going to post it in the Herald and online and all of that. I just haven't sent it out yet.
Okay,
Right, if Vermont Law School must just be beginning or about to.
Yeah.
Like, is there
Okay.
any contact we have there, right? Because that whole idea of trailing partners seemed like a really good one, if, you know. We have-
Amy Frost works there. I can see if she can put it out there.
That would be great.
Okay.
So that's gonna be about 800 people looking for something. if they-
potentially, yeah. That's a great idea. All right, Todd, what do you have?
I have, and this has nothing to do with the lawsuit. We're not talking about that. So I noticed the signs with the legal trails, walking on the trail under review, and by my memory, we're coming up actually on the anniversary of when this all started.
Yeah,
2 years, within the next week or so, so August 18th, I think it's 2 years ago. So just interested, and maybe you do need to run this by the attorney and totally the policy that's in existence. So kind of as a representative of the public, I'm not on the Trails Committee. I know they have a vacancy, but I'm not on that. I was on that special little ad hoc committee that went out with Jonathan and Rudy.
Mhm.
And who's the third person? Rudy, George, right, George was. So just as far as whether the select board would consider, and particularly double checking for the attorney, that doesn't affect anything that's going on with decisions on the main issue, which of course we know is about who has the right of maintenance. So this is not a maintenance, it's more about a usage issue, whether there could be a reconsideration of the trail usage. As I said, maybe back in May, that it would be a shame if the entire season went by with things just kind of being stuck in neutral, which is kind of where we are right now. That if it didn't trigger any other problems with, what's going on behind the scenes with the attorneys, that the select board would consider maybe that, once again, I am not in favor of motorized use, but to go back to what a lot of us think was the policy that existed before, non-motorized use of legal trails. So just putting that out there. I don't know, are you getting together in 2 weeks again? Is that the next time you'll meet?
oh, no, I hadn't thought about that.
Next week.
Next week.
Oh, really? 1 week after another? Is that?
Well,
because-
we missed last week.
Right.
Because it was the election.
Yeah, I thought that
That's
was
right,
why
that's
with
right.
the elections. Okay, so just putting it out there, and
Yeah.
whether you felt like, well, we don't know what we're gonna do, but maybe we need to check with the attorney on this. My sense is that since it has nothing to do with the issue that's in that suit, that it wouldn't trigger anything, but just putting it out there as a public citizen, user of the trail, probably representing some other viewpoints. So that's all that I have. Yep.
All right, can you send well, unless you guys don't want to, Mariah could send an email to Paul and ask him that question.
If we can change anything.
Yeah, I don't want to put the town at any risk.
Yep.
Of where everything's going right now, but I just think it's a legitimate question.
Yeah.
He probably would have a response.
Well, he might say, yeah, go ahead, and he might say, no, just be
Sit
cautious.
sit tight, right, be good to know.
Yep.
All right. That's all I had.
All right.
Always good hanging out, wow, almost the entire time. Very good. I guess you're about.
How's the electric truck going?
It's now getting the free charge at the law school.
Yeah.
I keep thinking they're gonna stop doing that, but we go to Maine and back with it. I mean, we get a little charge on the way.
Yeah.
There's a free charger there, an interesting guy. You ever go through Lancaster, New Hampshire?
I have.
Lancaster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, Lancaster. You definitely have been there. Do you know where that campground on the east side as you go towards Gorham? On the right, it's a
Yeah,
big campground and it's got, anyway, the guy's got a free high-speed charger.
Wow.
High speed.
And we've met him, Crosby, yeah, I forget what, interesting guy. He goes around. So we use that, plug in for 20 minutes, pick up 40, 50 miles, and with that, we have enough clearance to just go right to the property. I do get too many questions about it, but not to say that, but people coming around, can I take a picture?
Yeah.
Hey, can I, how do you?
Joel Nashman was telling that one time he went to a ball game. He lives in Colchester, I think it is, and he went to Montpelier to go to a ball game with his electric car. And he forgot to charge it up before he left. And so then he had to find a place in Montpelier to charge for a little while, and then he went up to somewhere else, and somewhere else. It took him 4 hours to go home.
Oh, yeah, he was bought out.
Yeah.
No, it was a little planning, but it's
Right.
it's getting better. Definitely.
Not bad in Montpelier though, of all places, right? There's gotta be an EV station. there.
Yeah, and with that recent bill that of course down in Washington got passed, and I'm sure it's gonna all filter out to the states. I think that if at some point, whether the town or a business owner, I know that Mike Gross has thought about it a little bit, North Tunbridge store. Getting a charger in town at a nominal, if not a free cost, is looking more likely to some of the stimulus money that's coming out. All right, thanks for your good work,
Yep,
guys.
take care.
take care.
Any other business? Right, it's about time. Probably gonna keel over.
Me, Richard.
They must be stale by now.
Yeah,
What do I do? Hit it.
Hit it.
Hit it. Select. This is Maureen McCullough. Just wondering about the status of our request for a speed limit sign on Gifford Hill Road.
Yeah, so did you guys get my email I had sent to you? John, you muted yourselves.
There we go.
There you go.
Red score.
Did you guys get my email? I had talked to Rita about the speed study.
Us guys, yeah, I got the email.
I didn't see it,
I
sorry.
didn't see it.
So I talked to Rita about a speed study. She said that Two Rivers would do one for us if we wanted it, but that
wow.
to consider
Cost, yeah.
that if we wanted to do it now or if we wanted to do it after summer traffic is over. She said it can't be reduced down any slower than 35 because it's not a city center or a school. And she also said that it might be more of not even reducing the speed limit, but it might just be more of getting data to see when and where and how fast people are going, and then just using that with the sheriffs and having more people come out and patrol that road section. Because she said even if you change it and reduce it, people are still going to drive as fast as they feel comfortable on a back road. So
Would Rita's help cost us anything, or is it free, so to
she
speak?
didn't make it sound like it would. I think it sounded like it was like included with whatever we pay to Two Rivers every year, but I can double check and see. But she said she would put tubes out for a speed study for 2 weeks and then give us all the data and go from there.
I think we should do it.
Yeah, I do too. And I even think if it's 35, speeders still go there. Like right now, like the sheriffs couldn't even stop people, right? Because it's 50.
Right.
Right.
But they would have something to work with then.
Where is it? What section of roadway, like specifically? Where do you want it to be put?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Asking everybody.
Well, when Rodney put up the sign that shows a posted, horse and carriage, he put it right on the property line, because where our boundary is with Randolph, so he put it right there. And that's fine. I don't care if there's another one that posts the speed there. It's it, we have a lane, our driveway that we come out with the horses and carriages. It's sort of blind, so we have no issue. The reason we want it is not for our neighbors know us and everybody is great. It is the increase of traffic, the houses that have been built that are people from out of state that have no clue. And that's what it's for. There's two, our neighbor crosses his cows, comes down our land and crosses his cows. So right about there, that's where we have the horse sign. Right around there, would be good just to alert people that, you need to go slow.
So what's your address, Maureen?
53 Gifford Hill Road.
Okay.
You can do it for all of Gifford Hill.
Yeah.
Do it for all of Gifford Hill.
What's
I
that?
can't,
No.
Up from the Randolph line.
yeah, I will have Rita and Rodney decide, like, I don't know how far apart those go. There's 2 tubes and they get put, I don't know how far apart, but to get the speed and the direction from one way or the other. So I'll have Rita talk to Rodney because he knows that road better. I don't think I've ever been up there, and he can tell her where exactly she should put them in relation to Maureen's house.
Yeah, that would be great. Great. Whatever you can do would be very appreciated.
Okay.
All right, we're on it.
Okay, thanks.
Welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Any other business?
No.
Are you all caught up with minutes, Mariah?
No. I'll try to have them by next meeting, Mariah.
Okay. I was gonna say I'm caught up with my minutes, but I haven't got John's yet.
There's a big gap. What do we do without Patch?
What's Hope Patch?
Your neighbors, oh, maybe it was Mariah.
Yeah, it was probably Mariah. She had one for the library. She did like a patch for
That's what it was.
some
Yep.
book thing with the library.
How did the primary go, Mariah?
Good, yeah. There was about a little less than 300 people came, which was a lot more than I thought we were gonna have. And the new tabulator is awesome. So it's pulls out anything that has a write-in. So in order at the end of the night, instead of having to fan through all 400 ballots or 300 ballots to look for the write-ins and then missing one, it automatically does it for you. And then it took us like 45 minutes to do all of our end of night stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
I eat all the cupcakes by myself.
You did?
Yeah, Mike had to have all the cupcakes.
I was thinking of you. I was doing chores.
Anything you have to do different for general, or is it pretty much, you're pretty much teed up for it now?
Yeah, it's the same thing. The only difference with general will be that the state is sending out ballots to every registered voter. So I'm gonna probably have a lot more absentee ballots and,
Instead of people requesting them.
right, which is nice. I actually prefer it. A lot of other clerks are like stressed out about it, wish that they were doing it, but I'm like, why? Then I don't have to make them all up and send them out. They're automatically sent to everybody and they can either vote it before the election or they can come in and vote at the polls. So it's, I think, a lot easier.
I'm not complaining, but Rodney spent almost $12,000 on culverts.
Hmm. Well, we spent 3,200 on rubbish.
How's Mike been doing with the mowing?
Looks really
That
good
working
out
out?
here. Really good.
And he even did the one on the slope there north of town. Looks like somebody weed whacked there. That sign needs to be repainted at some point.
Yeah. Rick Ackerman's still doing the one up by
That's nice.
Parkers.
We should give him
I haven't seen Rick, but
give him an attaboy for that,
yeah.
maple creamy or something.
Fuel's dropping right down in price, isn't it?
Boy, in Canada, it was expensive.
Was that?
I think around $7. Diesel was over $8
For a gallon or for a liter?
per gallon.
Yikes, and here we are complaining around
I
here.
know. Probably a lot more tax. Gary has no water because we water the roads in Tunbridge, no, it doesn't get into the fields. So local, they said Champlain Valley doesn't have any drought at all.
Right.
Have you dug into the dirt lately? It's so
Oh my God.
dusty, it's unbelievable.
Powdery dry.
That's that dust like you get on potatoes at the end of it.
I went over to hold my potatoes, I don't know, a month ago. And there's these little holes in the dirt. And it's just a wonderful deer.
Right.
So I went and looked. There's all these feathers
Yeah.
in the bowl, or goddamn partridges just dusting themselves.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Cause I
Like
asked a buddy of
chickens,
mine,
right.
that's in the woods all the time. He
Yeah.
said, oh, yeah, they do that.
Really?
Well, it's, you know, the dirt is so dry,
Right, and they like that.
they go in, they just flap their wings and,
Yeah.
Like a bunch of
Would
crazy birds.
turkeys do that too?
God, I
Yeah,
think they would.
they do, yeah.
How's Bonnie doing?
She's doing
Mariah?
awesome. Yeah, she's doing really, really well. Um, I'm really lucky to have her. I hope that we can keep her on. Even I was thinking, and obviously you guys can think on it, but it would be really nice if we could keep her on Mondays and Wednesdays, so the office would be open 4 days a week. And then she would be still in the, you know, continuing to learn and being there in case something happened to me, like I got hit by a bus or something, you know, then.
Well, be careful.
That jumped the
Yeah,
sidewalk in front of your
you wouldn't
house.
have
huh?
worried about it.
Yeah. Well, I think she's doing really well. Just her confidence level is better now than it was.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
People are certainly happy when the office is open too. A bus driven by Davis, no doubt.
You never know, honestly, you know.
What's Dove doing tonight? I don't hear her crying her head off.
She doesn't cry. She's
Oh,
a silent baby, yeah.
not too bad.
She's
Happy.
yes, she's so happy and the easiest. She was with Deb tonight, so she's, I don't know, asleep somewhere.
With
She's actually just awake in this one.
Oh, is she? She's just awake, hanging out in the swing by herself.
Just put a bell on her so you can keep track of her.
Yeah, exactly.
what does Davis think of this new sister?
He really, really likes having a sibling. He,
Oh, that's good.
yeah, like hugs her all the time, calls her baby Dove and kisses her and holds her hand and yeah, really taken to being a big brother.
The conductor probably needs, the engineer needs somebody to load the the steam engines.
Exactly, exactly.
Nice.
He's looking ahead.
Yeah. Do you guys have anything else for me, or can I scoot out of this warrant signing?
I think we're all set.
We can just adjourn.
I'll take that motion.
Okay, I second it.
All
All
right.
right, I'll see you next week.
Okay.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Mariah.
Same
Thank you.
time,
Yeah.
same place.
See ya.
See ya, thank you.